the people in northern Gaza are allowed to return home.
The U.S. launches a crackdown on illegal immigration.
Nghe An established task forces to accelerate the implementation of the 2025 plan.
Hello, so good to see you again in today's news. I am Hoàng Yến, and here we go, the first headline of the show. The Israeli military announced on the morning of January 27 that people in Gaza have begun to be allowed to move to the northern part of the region as a part of the ceasefire agreement in effect between the Israeli military and Hamas.
Accordingly, people in northern Gaza are allowed to return home through the Netzarim corridor and the Rashid coastal route. However, the Israeli military has warned Palestinian civilians traveling to northern Gaza not to carry weapons, not to approach military positions, and not to swim or fish in the Mediterranean Sea in the coming days. Allowing people from northern Gaza to return home is an important step in implementing the ceasefire agreement. As part of the plan, Hamas will continue to release remaining hostages to Israel this week. The day before, the office of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced that Palestinians could begin returning to northern Gaza after Israel and Hamas reached an agreement on January 26 to release an additional 6 hostages.
The U.S. Department of Justice recently announced the launch of an operation to enforce the Immigration and Nationality Act in Chicago. This is a part of the Trump administration plans to increase the arrest and deportation of illegal immigrants.
The operation involves multiple law enforcement agencies from the Department of Justice. The exact number of individuals arrested in Chicago has not been publicly disclosed. It is estimated that Chicago is home to 400,000 illegal immigrants, many of whom are believed to be hiding in their homes to avoid encountering federal law enforcement. Previously, on January 23, the new Trump administration apprehended hundreds of illegal immigrants and deported many by military aircraft. Since taking office on January 20th, President Trump has followed through on his promise to address immigration issues through a series of executive orders, including a directive to deploy military forces to the southern border.
The Peoples Committee of Nghệ An province had recently issued a decision to establish 5 task forces to direct and accelerate the implementation of 2025 plan according to the proposed growth scenario.
Accordingly, the sectors including industry, public investment, state budget revenue, agriculture, rural areas, and services will be led by vice chairpersons of the Provincial People's Committee as the heads of the task forces. The task forces will operate under the direct guidance of the chairman of the Provincial People's Committee and are accountable to the chairman for the implementation of their assigned tasks. The heads of the task forces are responsible for developing specific operational plans for 2025, linked to a list of products and areas that need to be inspected, supervised, and assisted in resolving difficulties and obstacles. These plans must be reported to the chairman of the Provincial People's Committee, via the Department of Planning and Investment, before February 20, 2025. The task force leaders are also tasked with directing, urging, and inspecting relevant parties regarding the development of specific growth scenarios for each sector, field, and key product to strive for the highest possible completion of the goals and targets set for 2025 and the 2021 to 2025 period.
Upcoming are some updated news.
Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh has issued a directive on proactively addressing and preventing prolonged cold spells and severe frost, including for Nghệ An specifically. Nghệ An needs to closely monitor the situation and weather forecasts, raise awareness and educate the public on methods and skills for safely and effectively combating the cold, with particular attention to protecting the elderly, children, and vulnerable groups from the cold and other extreme weather events. The province must also ensure that people have access to medical services and treatment during the Lunar New Year period. Additionally, The province should allocate local budgets, the Disaster Prevention and Control Fund, and available resources to promptly support efforts to prevent hunger, cold, and disease among livestock, aquatic animals, and crops.
Tonight, on the eve of the Lunar New Year of the Snake, at Thai 2025, Vin City will organize an artistic performance and fireworks display at Ho Chi Minh Square and the Vin City pedestrian street. The program, titled Aspiration of Spring, consists of 3 parts: Steps at the Threshold, Spring of the Homeland, and Walking Under the Glorious Sky. Many famous singers from Vietnam's music scene and Nghie and will participate in the event. The highlight of the program will be a 15-minute low-altitude fireworks display to welcome the new year.
Nguyen Hue Flower Street for the Lunar New Year of the Snake, at Thai 2025, one of the most prominent cultural and tourism events during the traditional Lunar New Year in Ho Chi Minh City, officially opened on the evening of January 27th, the 28th of the Lunar New Year. With the theme, Beautiful Land, Joyful Spring, the Flower Street is divided into 3 sections: Unity, Transformation, and Development. This year's Flower Street stands out with 90 snake-shaped mascots, including a massive pair of intertwined snakes, Kim Thai and Non Thai, at the entrance, surrounded by vibrant flower pots. Additionally, 2 500 kilograms robots have been installed, equipped with electronic systems and programming that allow their arms and heads to move and engage in conversation with visitors, creating an interactive experience for photo taking. Nguyen Hue Flower Street 2025 will be open to the public from 7 p.m. on January 27th, 28th of the Lunar New Year, until 9 p.m. on February 2nd, 5th of the Lunar New Year.
During his lifetime, our beloved President Ho Chi Minh always showed affection and care for all the people of Vietnam. For the people of Kim Liên, the offering meal to Uncle Ho on the last day of the year has become a beautiful tradition preserved for a long time, reflecting the heartfelt remembrance and respect for the great contributions of the President Ho Chi Minh.
Every year, on the last day of the old year, Mr. Lai always personally prepares offerings to place on Uncle Ho's altar. Since President Ho Chi Minh passed away, Lai's family set up an altar in their home, placing it in the most honorable location. This year, in addition to the fragrant pomelo from the garden, Lai also prepared sticky rice with chicken, fresh flowers, and carefully arranged them as offerings to Uncle Ho. This year, it differs in terms of prosperity, achieving more accomplishments, and having more elaborate and complete offerings and preparations. For the officials at the Kim Liên historical site, the last afternoon of the year is also quite busy, with everyone preparing the sticky rice with chicken, the offerings, and the green bon chung, sticky rice cakes, to present to Uncle Ho and his family. In the transition between the old year and the new year, each person, with deep respect and gratitude for the contributions of President Ho Chi Minh, feels happier and warmer when being near him and with his family in this sacred moment. We hope that every 30th day of the Lunar New Year, President Ho Chi Minh's house and memorial are as warm and cozy as any other Vietnamese family. There is a simple meal, with rustic dishes rich in the flavors of Tet, offered to him and his loved ones. This beautiful tradition is still being preserved and promoted by the people of Kim Liên, reminding the current and future generations to always remember their roots and soon fulfill Uncle Ho's wish to build a more prosperous and beautiful homeland.
The last story to send it our program today. Thank you so much for your attention. Happy New Year and goodbye.